Persona 5 The Phantom X. Let's talk. Persona is one of ATLUS's most popular IPs and is beloved by JRPG fans around the world. Persona 5 launched to critical and commercial success, and since then has had numerous spin-offs. And by numerous, I mean just a crap ton. I mean seriously, like look at all these spin-offs. The latest spin-off is none other than Persona 5 The Phantom X. Now, you may not have heard about this game, probably because it's only releasing in China, Taiwan, and Korea for now, but ever since they released that banger new opening by Lin herself, Ambitions and Visions, I can safely say interest is now apparent. So I have been doing a lot of research preparing myself for release, and so today I will be going through everything you need to know about Persona 5 The Phantom X. As a Persona channel, I will be at least covering the game. I've already given my thoughts about gacha games in general and this gacha game in particular in my opening reaction videos. Definitely click on the banner above to check it out. And if you'd like to know more about Persona 5 The Phantom X, definitely subscribe to the channel or just Persona content in general and any JRPG content as well. Alright, so let's get into it. Persona 5 The Phantom X, also known as Persona 5X or P5X, is a free-to-play turn-based RPG developed by Blackwing Game Studios and published by Perfect World Games. It is a spin-off of Persona 5 that takes place in an alternate universe to mainline Persona 5. So yes, it is not canon. Even though it is developed and published by studios that are not named ATLUS and outside of Japan, it is officially authorized and licensed by Sega and ATLUS, with the latter actually being involved in the development. So that's the press description and wiki description out of the way, but basically it's Persona 5 with a lot of gacha mechanics that you love to hate. But it does have a storyline, and the storyline in the game is one where you recruit party members who awaken to their rebellious selves in order to take down the corrupt in society, which should definitely sound familiar. So even though it's basically like Persona 5 with just gacha mechanics in general, the game does introduce new characters, new locations, a new mascot in this owl thing, and of course new personas, all of which make it enough to go back into the world of Persona 5, at least for me. The main character this time around is a guy with the codename of Wanda. Just like any other Persona game, you are able to name the MC, but I'll just refer to him as Wanda from now on. Fun fact actually, Shigenori Sojima, the character designer for the Persona series, actually designed Wanda and his persona, which we'll get to in a little bit. From the numerous trailers, Wanda is someone who is quite apathetic, and he is not sure what to do with his life as he continues his mundane life. That is until he meets a mysterious owl named Luffy, or codenamed hang on, what is this? Codenamed Cattle? Is that right? Like, are we sure that it's codenamed Cattle? Anyways, it has been announced that the theme of P5X is a lack of desire, and Wanda eventually meets a man who has a twisted desire, and you'll need to take his heart. Just like with other Persona games, Wanda eventually awakens to his persona. Wanda's persona is named Yanosik, and I'm not gonna lie, his freaking design is so dope. Yanosik, similar to other personas in 5, is also a rebellious soul and comes from Slovakian novels, poems, and films. Yanosik is based on Juraj Janosik, a Slovak highwayman who robs from the rich but does not kill innocents. This is very fitting for a Phantom Thief's persona. But seriously, look at him. He just looks absolutely awesome. Like, Sojima-san really outdid himself with this one. He's dressed in a long coat with a cool looking helmet / hat thing, loving the white as well, and wields dual guns that doubles as axes. As you would have guessed, he will have an array of gun skills, and he also does bless damage as well, which is a nice juxtaposition to Joker from Persona 5. I will be covering all the characters that have been announced so far, so definitely subscribe and stay tuned. Just like with any Persona game, once you awaken to your power, you'll be met by the big-nosed man himself, Igor, and this time his new Velvet Room attendant named Merope. The Velvet Room this time around is located within an aquarium, and the design actually looks pretty cool. Now let's quickly talk about this new assistant, Merope. Merope actually comes from Greek mythology, and in that mythos, she is the youngest of the 7 Pleiades, which are the daughters of ATLUS and Pleion. The star, Merope, is often called the Lost Pleiade, because she was at first not found by astronomers unlike her sisters. One myth states that she hides her face in shame due to having an affair with a mortal man. Now how this plays out into the story, I don't know, but Merope is actually the first Velvet Room attendant that is not named like a Frankenstein character. Merope's design is that of an elegant woman with grey eyes and long platinum blonde hair. And if you notice, she does not have yellow eyes like previous Velvet Room attendants, further distancing herself from the other Velvet Room attendants. In the Phantom X, as Igor's new attendant, she can uniquely summon personas and cognitive manifestations of people the protagonist has met along his journey from the Sea of Souls. So this is where the gacha mechanic will take place, as well as for anything to do with summoning items, weapons, and the like. Alright, now that we got the main character and premise out of the way, it's time to talk about the meat and potatoes, combat and gacha mechanics. So starting with combat, it is still turn-based and very similar to other Persona games. You have different elemental and physical affinities which are strong or weak against each other. There are some notable differences however, such as the one more mechanic. One more is still triggered the same way you would hit an enemy's weakness, but in P5 you could choose what to do with your extra turn, as in take an extra turn from yourself or baton pass to someone else. In P5X, one more is a specific attack from a party member and you do not have the ability to choose. Now personally, I don't know how to feel about this one. I liked having options with my one more turn. Did I want to heal? Do I want to burst it down, like the enemy down, or do I want to buff or debuff? So in my opinion, because this is a gacha game, I think they are preventing the game from becoming way too easy with all the choices you have, with all the different potential characters that you can get. And this is probably trying to alleviate, basically the complaints that P5 had by the end, where battles became a matter of hitting one weakness and you basically just win the fight instantly. Which I can see that being the case, and I'm okay with it if that is the case, but at the same time, I just want more choice. But I will say that the one more turns and the specific attacks actually look pretty sick, so I don't know. Anyway, I digress. Knockdown is now tied to a weakness meter, so in order to achieve a knockdown, players need to trigger a weakness a certain amount of times to reduce this weakness meter. Now this is kind of similar to Persona 5 Strikers, where you reduce the meter before an enemy is knocked down. So another combat mechanic is highlights, which is basically just showtime but with a new name. So this is triggered when all enemies are knocked down. When this happens, players can choose one character to highlight, and the highlighted character can do a lot of damage with their specific attribute type. Now this attribute will actually be seen in the highlight wheel, which is a nice touch, especially for someone like me who sometimes forgets, abilities, weaknesses, sometimes just forgets. Combat in general just feels very Persona 5-like, even down to the UI. You have an auto battle feature, just like the other games, but P5X also includes a speed up feature, which is absolutely awesome. You can use weapons like your guns, you can use items, and then you can also use your personas. They did add a turn UI in the top left, which is pretty cool, showing you a sequence of the upcoming turns and what they will look like, and a total damage counter in the top right, because who doesn't love big numbers? Generally, combat looks great, and just as you expect, so there's really no complaints there. The majority of combat will be taking place in Mementos. So, Mementos is back, guys. And players will be able to continuously unlock parts of it with Luffy, who also transforms into a car. At least it isn't a minibus, I guess. According to the developers, this is where players will complete daily quests. As part of the main story and larger story content of the game, there will also be palaces in the game which are just as you expect from Persona 5. Large, filled with demons, filled with puzzles, twists and turns, and boss fights along the way. So traveling around Tokyo is back, and there are even more locations than Persona 5. You can do a bunch of different activities and minigames around Tokyo, like fishing, taking photos, this music jam thing, going to the batting cage, as well as going on dates. Speaking of going on dates, social links or covenants will be part of P5X as well. I mean, who isn't surprised? Is like the staple of Persona, so it's, it pretty much has to be in here. You can hang out with all the new party members that you recruit via the game's story, and Merope will also be available as a social link. But it is not yet known if the gacha party members from the summons, or even the original Phantom Thieves, will have social links. I should also say I would assume you can romance people just like any other Persona game, but the extent of which we are not sure of yet. Social links will have multiple different unique bonuses, such as leveling up individual stats and individual people's personas, and possibly more that we'll just have to wait and see. Now onto everyone's favorite genre of game, gacha, and the gacha mechanics in this game. Alright, I'm going to assume you know a bit about gacha games in terms of like banners, pulls, pity, star rankings, items, all that sort of stuff. But in case you don't, here is a very crude and quick rundown. Banner is basically a character you have a chance of getting. They come throughout the lifetime of the game, or the life cycle of the game. Pulling means you're buying an item in game, which gives you a chance of getting something that you want. Pity is a mechanic where they basically feel sorry for you for taking too much of your money, and artificially raises your chances of getting what you want. And star ranking is just basically, you know, the bigger the number, the better. And then, you know, 5 stars is obviously better than 4 stars, blah, blah, blah. These are the pinnacle sort of characters, the 5 stars. Okay, with that out of the way, I read on Reddit, actually, and the post will be linked in the description, about some of the items and numbers around this game's gacha system. And now, as a disclaimer, these are all subject to change. This was basically based on closed beta 2, I believed, that they had last year sometime. So yeah, it's all subject to change. All right, here we go. So there will be 3 different types of banners: a permanent banner, which contains characters and weapons; a character banner, which contains characters only; and a weapon banner, which contains weapons only. The base rate for pulls are 5-star items are around 0.6% chance to pull, 4-star items are around 6.2%, and 3-star items around 93.2%. So the pity mechanics in this game, when pulling 10 times in a row, a 4-star and above item is guaranteed. A 5-star and above item is guaranteed within a max of 88 pulls. And the pity rate, 5-star items is 1.7%, 4-star items is 13.88%, and 3-star is 84.42%. Now, in saying that, with any time you pull for banners or just for general pulls in general, you do have a chance of getting personas, various different items, and upgrade materials as well. So it's not just purely what I've just listed. It's basically like any other gacha game that you might have played. If those numbers and items mean nothing to you, don't worry. I'm sure there will be a lot more information about the gacha system when the game releases. And to be honest, they don't really mean that much to me. I'm not a huge gacha gaming person anyway, but you know, maybe you can compare it to like Genshin Impact or Honkai Star Rail. Definitely do that in the comments below and let me know what you think about the rates and everything. And in my opinion, gacha is just another form of gambling, and anything that requires money for a chance of digital items will never really sit well with me. I am really hoping that the game is fun though, and filled with a lot of content that free-to-play players who can literally choose to spend no money can still enjoy it, but we'll just have to wait and see. So that's everything in a nutshell about Persona 5 The Phantom X. I will be covering more about this game as I am definitely interested to see how everything unfolds, so definitely subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Combat looks really fun, and just the premise of having a Persona game that I can fit into my pocket. Guys, I know Persona Q and Persona in general on Switch exists, is really intriguing to me. I do believe the gacha mechanics and content and story of the game will make or break the game, but I'm sure it will have a massive audience no matter what, considering that there's already 10 million pre-registrations in China, which is roughly about the same when Genshin Impact released, so that's definitely saying something. So thanks for watching everyone, and I'll see you in the next video.